Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart, and today in episode 4 of The Old Worlders, Mark and I discuss, is BattleMarch the best way to play the Old World?
Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems, and offer custom items to suit your club, your event, or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description.
We're back again, episode 4. And today we're asking another question. As you'll see, we're talking all about BattleMarch essentially, and this is something really close to your heart, isn't it, Mark? You absolutely love BattleMarch.
Yeah, this is by far my favourite way to play Warhammer with this edition. I absolutely love it. It's just great.
Yeah,
exactly what I'm looking for. Ticks all the boxes.
Yeah, and as a busy father who plays a lot of my Warhammer against my 11-year-old, again, it is the great way to play the game. And that's it. Question answered, and we can go. Now that would be it. That would be it. That'll be a little bit naff. So, Mark, what is BattleMarch? Because there might be some people that haven't come across it.
Yeah, so BattleMarch is the old world's way of allowing you to play games of Warhammer dramatically scaled down, with restrictions upon all types of characters, core choices, special choices, rare choices, by way of giving you a percentage of the points that you can go up to but not over, and then you can only spend a certain amount of those points per unit. So you basically end up with, where you'd normally have a unit of maybe 20 or 30, you're going to end up with like units of like 10 to 15 models basically. It's just a really nice, neat, tidy way of the game being scaled down. Every unit then has a purpose. Your army choices become very, very, very relevant. And if you get it wrong, you're going to probably have a fairly short game. But the majority of people are just going to play nice little blocks of infantry. There's a lot of movement. It's played on a smaller table, a 30-inch by 44-inch table. It's just a great way to play Warhammer. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. I think it was, when it was first brought out, it was free, wasn't it? It was part of a free scenario that was put out. Well, 3 free scenarios that were put out as part of one of the birthdays for Warhammer World, I think. And it was jumped on. Quite a few people were using it right from day one. Robert TSN has put on loads of events since that point, really kind of lent into it. And I know that there are quite a few events around the world. So Matt from their own Discord runs loads and loads of BattleMarch events as well. So there are places you can go and play these other events now. I play them in a certain way. We'll discuss that more in the rest of the video. And you play them in a certain way, but there are people making events out of these as well. So it's super flexible. But like you said, it just kind of shrinks the game down, but makes it a little bit easier for new players, a little bit easier to manage from a time perspective, and just less miniatures makes it a little bit easier to get started earlier when you're in the middle of painting a big army. So talk a little bit about the size then. So it is sort of 500 up to 750 points. Have you do you have a sort of a size that you prefer?
I like both variants, and both variants are very different games. 500 points is generally going to give you, with the majority of armies, 3 or 4 units with a character. 750 is going to give you a bit more. The real difference you'll notice with 750 is it enables you to actually give your characters maybe a little bit of extra tuning with some better magic items, or it enables you to actually get proper rank bonuses in one of your big blocks. Either way, you're not going to be facing down dragons or anything like that. People who think that the armies that would be extraordinarily powerful, like night goblins and everything with fanatics, you think, oh, just loads of fanatics, but you can't have loads of fanatics because fanatics are so expensive. In
Yeah.
500 points, you can only have, I think it's a 175 points worth of, it's the top end of a unit. If you've got
Yes.
20 night goblins and 2 fanatics, that's fine. You can't go to 30 and have 3 in them. You
Yeah.
haven't got enough points. So
Yeah.
you have to really make a lot of very significant choices um, about things. And it's just, I really like playing 500 as the first part of a little mini campaign,
Yeah.
and then moving it on for the next battle to 750,
Yeah.
and then just playing out a little bit of a narrative as it were. If I had to pick one above the other, I think I'd probably pick 500 points because I think that
Okay.
the choices you have to make are very significant and very brutal.
Hmm.
It's great for new players because new players can pick whatever they want, and it's hard to pick an incorrect army list because most of the time you're just going to have fun. There's enough scope in there for people, as you say, to play at a competitive level, but there's more than enough scope for people to play at a local club level or a kitchen table level as well.
Yeah.
It's probably the purest form of Warhammer that you can play across all sort of like 3 sectors, as it were. So
Hmm.
I think 500 points would probably be my favourite out of the two.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when it was a free version of the game, it was sort of just 500 because
Mm,
it was a for a scenario, and then we didn't mention at the beginning, but the official set of rules are now in the War of Setris Fury Arcane Journal. It's contained within that book, so there's 4 pages in there that give you all of the rules that you need, and it's essentially the same thing, but it expands it up to 750 points, and there's
mm,
some scenarios in there to play as well. So if you don't have that Arcane Journal, if you don't have this one here, is well worth getting just for that.
yeah,
Anyway, I played a mix of sizes at home. To be honest with you, we definitely started with 500 because it made it easier to sort of start to teach Jacob the rules. But I also found that we quite enjoy playing at 750. It just means that sometimes there's a second character or as
yeah,
another unit, rather than increasing the size of the unit.
mm,
There's so much you can do. I'd encourage people to add another small unit to it rather than just pimp out your characters a bit
yeah,
more.
yeah,
So you still keep the game feeling manageable and not complicated, but you get to experience more of Warhammer at a small scale. But maybe you've got a third small unit on the board because you're starting to able to play at outflanking, maneuvering, and things.
mm,
The danger is if you just have one expensive unit, then you're just kind of moving towards each other, and the game's not exactly exciting. So I think
no,
750 helped in that way, but it does depend a little bit on your own, but also your group's mentality towards the game, and whether you're playing it slightly competitive or whether you're like, no, actually, let's really limit the characters, let's limit the magic items, and turn it into something where we're just shrinking the sizes of the units, really. So we're
yeah.
playing sort of a shrunk down game of Warhammer, but you still got all that idea of maneuvering and deploying and things as well. It's really good fun. My son loves it. So how long does it take to play a game then? This is one of the benefits, but how long do you find it takes?
We generally have a good chat while we're playing. So a 500 point game, we're probably anywhere between an hour and a half to 2 hours. And
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, it's probably not that different for a 750 point game because we have the same amount of chatter. Um,
Hmm.
you don't have that extra amount of units really. You might have one or two, but really you're playing on such a small table that you're not moving as much as you probably would because you're very conscious of you can quite easily get wind blasted off the side of the table.
Yeah.
or or just get yourself in the wrong position against the wrong thing, and yeah, we find if you allow 2 to 2.5 hours, you're covered on all bases. It's brilliant. Like what we've done quite a few times is everybody's come round on a Saturday, and we've put 2 tables up, and there's 4 of us playing, and a game in the morning, then something to eat, and then a game in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Uh, And that is that's a great one day of Warhammer where nobody's going to get any grief from their partners or anything because you're not staying anywhere overnight. You're just turning up, playing Warhammer for 5 or 6 hours, having a pizza or a barbecue or something, and then going home again. Nice and
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. I agree. And people will be listening to that thinking 2 hours. That's not reducing the length of a game really, but it is again the way you play. You can quite
Yeah.
easily get the game done under an hour, and that is the beauty of it. So if you're playing it at a club night and you only got 2 hours, and that includes the setup and the pack down, you can easily get your game in. But like what you were describing, it's also really easy to be super relaxed and say, well, we're going to play it over 2 hours and chat loads, and it's just so easy. You don't need to stress about speeding up to get it finished. Whereas it's quite hard to play a relaxed game of up to 2,000 points sometimes if you've only got a
Yeah.
couple of hours.
Yeah.
Even in a
100%.
relaxed setting, you start thinking, oh, I can't stop chatting here, or I need to speed up making this decision because I'm going to run out of time. And it just removes all of that. So because of that, it's a perfect club game, and it's also perfect to play. And I reference this a lot. Play with an 11-year-old who maybe doesn't have the attention span for 4 hours of Warhammer.
No,
We
it's a
we
lot.
we found
Four
that early
hours.
on. Yeah, we found that early on, but even before Old World launched, and we were playing around with sixth edition, playing around with 2,000 point battles is just so much for someone young or someone new to take in. And so it means that it takes a long time, which means the game can take a whole afternoon. And I've got the stamina for that, but I'm not sure some people have. So again, it just takes that away. And I don't know, Jacob would love to play a game, but then he would think about how long it was going to be. But now it's a case of, well, do you want to play a game of BattleMarch? And we can even smaller battle size. I bought some smaller mats. We can whack it on my kitchen table rather than playing it here in the office, which is lovely. It's all lit nicely. I've got a big table set up, but sometimes it's just nice to play downstairs in the kitchen and
Yeah.
next to my younger son who's watching telly or playing with some toys, and
Close
it's
to the
just
kettle.
close to the snacks and things. And again, it just completely changes the dynamic, and it's not hard to set up because you only need a handful of bits of terrain and stuff as well. So yeah, you can play it quick if you need to, but it just means that if you want to get it done in a couple of hours and be super chill, it works perfectly for it.
Yeah. I
Sure.
mean, if I think if I'm playing it's and I'm not playing at a tournament or anything like that, which I do very rarely these days anyway. But we'll be playing at sort of like Treebeard speed.
Yeah.
Let's not be hasty. Everything takes a long time to say anything, and when you're catching up with people that my friends come from sort of like a good hour and a half, 2 hours drive away to come and play. I might not have seen them for a couple of 3 weeks, so it's nice to
Yeah.
have a really good catch up and everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
let's not be hasty.
Yeah, I was just thinking then the amount of times that I've arranged to meet up with friends that live in other parts of the country at Warhammer World, and we say, oh, we got booked the table for the whole day, and we go, oh, we'll have a couple of games, and the amount of times we just end up having one game because
Yeah,
we take
turn
so
four. Oh,
long just chattering, and then you go for another beer or something, and then you realise, oh, it's 3 o'clock. Should we have another game? And you go, now we'll just go to just sit and chat or something, and
yeah,
it doesn't matter. It doesn't feel like you've wasted the time that you've spent 5 hours playing a game. But with BattleMarch, again, you could quite easily have that same relaxed experience, but re-rack quite quickly, and it just works really well. So, what about sort of like how you're playing at the moment, narrative play and things like that? Is that primarily how you
yeah.
play?
Um, Primarily, we use it a lot for the campaigns that I run as a starting point, um, where you'll start with 500 a 500 point army, and then through gathering resources and moving around maps, you'll gain points to increase your army. At
Yeah,
the same time, there'd be a semi sort of like escalation running in the background so that nobody drops too far behind, just to even things out. But generally, we'll use it use it in that sort of style, or we'll just play a one-off down the club and have a chat and play like a 500 or 750 point game down the club. We can comfortably get to the club at 7 o'clock, have a game of BattleMarch, be packing up at 9:30, have a chat with everybody else at the club, game at 10 o'clock. You're in nice and early, no aggro from your partner or anything.
Yeah, yeah, no, it makes sense. I haven't played this at club, but it reminds me the amount of times that whenever a new edition landed of fantasy back before it was destroyed, we would always start with escalation leagues, and we'd always have good 2 or 3 weeks at 500 points, and then it would go up to 750 and then 1,000, and we used to do that anyway. So we're essentially playing a version of BattleMarch, just restricted by the rules, and I did this in 7th and 8th edition at the Cheltenham War Cheers, I believe. So they were good, and I think that gives an example of how good this is when you're starting a new edition, or you've got a new player, or you just want to start a new army, because it's a great way of playing games with an army just after you've only painted 1 or 2 units, or maybe not even painted your whole unit. Maybe you've written a 2,000 point army list and you know you need 35 goblins or something, but you're thinking, well, I've got 20 painted, and that's enough for now for my first 500 points. Play a couple of weeks of that while you're painting away furiously, so you got your next unit to play at 750 points, which you could play for a couple of weeks as well. And while you're playing those games, you're painting more and more so that you can make those jumps up to 1,000 and 1,500 and beyond. And I think that's really, really good use of the game as well.
It's just a great way to hobby. It's just a really, really good interactive way to hobby. You're getting all of the aspects. I know that I'm one of those weirdos who actually loves putting the kits together, and a lot of people don't like putting the kits together. They're quite happy to paint and play with it, but they don't like putting stuff together, whereas I will happily sit there with a box of miniatures and stick them together. I love doing that.
I used to, not the new ones as much.
I would imagine you've done a few, and the new ones are quite complicated. So
yeah, definitely. I suppose the other thing that it's good for is, so we talked about sort of using it as an escalation to build forces. It's always also good if there's a faction that you want to dabble in, but you don't want to go for a full 2,000 point army, and you can just go, I'm going to scratch that itch because I really like this unit and I really like this. I'm not worried about a big army, so I'm going to build a small 750 points BattleMarch army, and it's going to stop at that, and that's all I'm going to do. It's going to be a fun palette cleanser of a project or something like that as well. I think you've started quite a few just BattleMarch armies, haven't you?
Well, my intention is to have all of the armies as just BattleMarch, because I am notorious for having one of the world's largest collections of adaptive camouflage grey forces. So not a lot of them are painted. So that is my aim. If I can look at it and go, you can paint 500 points. 500 points isn't a lot. It's like a unit and then maybe a couple of monsters and a character and maybe a chariot. You can do that. It's easy. Whereas if you're looking at it and thinking, I've got to paint 120 night goblins, that's an entirely different kettle of fish and not something that I look forward to. If I've only got to paint 20 of them, yeah, I'm all in on that. That's nice and easy. So I think that appeals to everybody. And the plan is to have 500 points of everything, apart from possibly Cathay, because I'm not a Cathay fan. But I probably would get 500 points just for completeness, saying that, so that when my friends come to visit, they haven't got to bring anything. They can just pick, I'm going to play Wood Elves today. Oh, I'm going to play High Elves, and there's 500 points ready to go. Yeah.
I've done that with a couple of things.
Really easy.
I've got 500 point ogres because it was a painting video as well, but it made sense to do. And my beastmen is only probably can go 750, definitely 500 as well. And again, they are probably not going to expand much beyond those as it stands, but they become allies for my wider chaos horde in the future. The ogres I'd like to add to in the future, but it's not, there are options there. There are options there for my son to play if he doesn't want to play his main arm, play his orcs and goblins, and again for me, if I just want to play something different, I can crack those out, and they're fully painted now, so it's nice, and it's just nice little projects, really really fun.
Yeah.
So in terms of your game style with your club games, have you made any further restrictions? If you have any thoughts or guidance around, or any learns really around use of magic and what shouldn't work, what does work?
Yeah, it can be really tricky on the armies that are heavily magic dependent.
Yeah,
So vampire counts, tomb kings.
yeah,
Um, you're going to struggle at 500 points because you're just going to probably get one magic user, which means that you're not going to be able to do the shenanigans of, reinforcing loads of units and things like that. It's not going to happen. So it does make you build your armies in a different way.
hmm
Um, with regards to magic items, we've put no further restrictions on them other than what the game enforces. Because if you, for example, if you buy um, a High Elf Noble, which is 90 points, um, and then your maximum that you can spend on it in a 500 point game is 125.
yeah,
So by the time you've bought your honor for him, then you're like, oh, okay, so I've really got nothing now, because even if you buy one of the cheap ones that are sort of like 10 points, it's still 100 points, and you've got 25 points
yeah.
to
It
armor
goes
them, and
quick.
it really goes quick. The majority of us have defaulted to our heroes having the best kind of armor that they can wear,
Yeah,
um, along with a charm shield and a biting blade, is
yeah,
is a very potent combination at 500 points,
yeah,
because you're getting a decent save in combat, a decent save against shooting. Um, if you get hit by something nasty, you have got that 5 up walled once from the charm
yeah,
shield. Um, and then the biting blade is obviously for 15 points. It's a steal because it just gives you a lot of AP,
yeah,
which is heavy armored stuff in Battle March is really strong. It's
hmm
it's it's hard to break through the armor because you have got very few tools that can do it amongst your basic troops. So unless you pick marauders and give them all flowers and everything, or give things 200 weapons, but then you're leaving yourself open to being cut down before you get to strike. So it can be quite a tricky choice. So, but in general, we've left things as they are with regards to magic, um, and magic users. At 750 points, I'm looking at slightly fluffing for our own use at the club and in the campaign zone, and maybe slightly fluffing out the troll hag,
hmm
because it is a big gribbly, but it's still not great. It's still
yeah,
only toughness 5. Um, sure, it's got regen, but there's a lot of things that can have regen at
yeah,
750 points, and it doesn't feel iconic to me to have a troll horde if it's not being led by a troll
yeah,
hag.
yeah, yeah.
Um, so
I've done the same with Jacob. We
yeah,
basically bent those rules because it's just us playing at home. He's not going to be particularly competitive anyway. So if anything, if it was slightly more powerful and it gave me more of a challenge, that's fine. I also don't mind him running a few points over if it gets what he needs on the
yeah,
table. So
exactly.
being flexible with it, that's part of my approach to
Mm,
the way I play war games anyway, but definitely the way I'm playing this as a parent, which is why I'm playing most of my BattleMarch games. But I'd be like that at a club anyway. If someone really wanted to
yeah,
run a troll horde, be like, okay, well, where does that take you? You got a few points over. Well, I'll have an extra 20, 40 points or whatever it
yeah,
ends up being. If you see, you could creep up to 800 if you without you completely breaking the game, probably.
yeah,
But you also don't need to do that. You can just break that percentage a little bit because
yeah.
the troll hack
Eight,
pushes you just over, doesn't it?
800 is the break point. After 800, the scaling goes a bit wonky.
Yeah, yeah, I
Um,
agree.
so we traditionally pull it back to to just having it at the 750, and then after
Yeah.
that we'll play, one of the more conventional means. Um, what we do have is, and it's almost an unwritten sort of rule, and it goes back to what we was talking about in the last episode, is if I'm playing somebody at the club and it's part of a narrative campaign that we're doing, just a few battles, or even if it's a one-off, I send my opponent my army list,
Yeah.
because I learnt very early on when I decided to pay 650 points of Dark Elves, and my opponent turned up with a couple of units of Skinks, and I had a couple of units of Dark Riders. Uh, it was over by turn 3,
Yeah.
because everything elf side was dead. So it is one of those things that if you want to have a fairly balanced game, there are some things that can go quirky, but I mean that's just Warhammer. That happens at 2,000 points. There's bad
That's it.
matchups all the way across the board, all the way up the point scale. So uh,
Yeah.
it's not necessary, but it's just common courtesy to do that. And
Yeah.
we find it makes them for much better games. And yeah, I mean, I have probably played the majority of armies now at 500, I think, with the exception of possibly Lizards, Bretonians, and Tomb Kings.
Right.
And that's because I've only just got my Lizardman army going,
Yeah.
and I don't own Bretonian or Tomb Kings yet. So that's the only reason why.
Yeah, you've played a lot more than me for sure. Played dwarves once, I think. Lots of bits of Renegade Crowns and Empire, and mostly against orcs and goblins as well. But Jacob's tried out a few different lists. He's tried a sort of a goblin only list, and some orcs and the troll horde idea once, and took plenty of trolls in his with his goblins the other day. So it's the other thing. It's fun for him as well, because
Yeah.
for whether it's a child or a new player, because I think the same thing applies. If you're writing your own list for the first time and it's 2,000 points, you need an awful lot of help. If you're just having a go at 500 points, you can have a crack at it, and you're not going to go too far off, and you learn. And then the next time you go, I'm going to try something completely different. And he's slowly learning the units in his army, rather than in a big game where you've got to try and remember all. He's got 2-3 units, and he's able to focus his attention on learning the rules for those 2 or 3 units at a time. He might have two magic users. He might have one, and he's got 1 or 2 spells. There's not much there. So he comes to his magic phase. He's not going, oh, which order, which it's kind of, he knows where he's playing, when he's using his one spell. And by the end of the game, he can remember the rules for it, what he needs to roll, how it works. And again, you build that muscle memory up of learning how to play those things by simplifying it and having less options there. It really, really helps. It helps a new player, regardless of their age, I
100%.
suppose.
I think
really, really good for that.
the thing with it is what we found really early on with it is, because there is a restriction where you can only have one of the choices that you would normally be able to have 0 to 1 in 1,000 points. That pretty much wipes out the majority of units being able to have keyword upgrades like drilled or
Yeah.
stubborn or veteran. And as soon as you take those things away,
hmm
the game is a lot easier to understand, because it's
Yes.
things you haven't got to remember as much. And then when you go up to 750, once you've got a few games under your belt at 500, then when you go up to 750, then you have the option, obviously, of adding these keywords into one of your units. And even then, it's not a massive thing, because it's only one of your units that you're adding it to.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you were playing regular Warhammer, you'd be looking to jam your keywords at every opportunity, because it just gives you the flexibility that your army needs to be able to do a multitude of tasks, basically, against a wide range of armies. So, yeah, take away the keywords, which is what the game tells you to do, and in BattleMarch, and then it becomes a lot easier for everybody to understand. So, yeah, we really like that.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Definitely simplifying the way I've played with Jacob. And like we said, just as you increase the size, you're adding layers on each time. And you learn slowly by doing that, and I think it's great for anyone new. And it really isn't just for new people, but it's perfect for new people, whether it's a new army or new to the game. But it's also equally perfect for experienced players who just want something that's quick and easy to play from an existing force and just relax and enjoy the game and play it for a social reason. And I'm sure there is the ability to go out there and play it and really meta it as well. There would be a meta. Again, if people want to play that way, then that's great as well. I'm sure it would work. I think most people who play that way would naturally gravitate towards the bigger games anyway. That's probably why we don't see it as much, but it would work that way. It's probably not the way I'd look to do it at all. So I mean, at the moment, this is quite topical. We've got lots of the battalion boxes disappearing from sale on the website. I think we might have touched on it before, and lots of YouTube channels have talked about it, and there's loads of theories about what's going on. I always go back to the leaked Tomb King battalion that was on eBay last year, probably like November time. So there was clearly at that point was a product that was on the way. Sometimes products change and don't come out, and maybe the boxes have all been pulped, who knows, but that would suggest that they were looking at a revamped battalion box that had a character in that could lead your army. And now I don't know whether that's got anything to do with BattleMarch, but do you think that that's something we will see?
I would like that to be the case, because Spearhead is a very, very, very good way to play AOS in its own right. And having a BattleMarch starting force for a faction would be fantastic, because it would enable you to dip your feet in the water. And if after playing that you think, do you know what? Maybe this army just isn't for me.
Yeah.
You haven't spent a lot of money. I mean, you're still going to have an expenditure, sure, but you haven't spent a huge amount of money on the 2,000 point army. And I think it's perfect for new players who want to learn the game and get into the game. I don't know how well they'd be able to balance the boxes. I think it would be an interesting thing to do. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I personally would really like to see that.
I don't know if they would call them BattleMarch or market them purely at that. I think that there seems to be a move towards doing something with with those battalion boxes. I'm sure they're not just completely disappearing. So we've had the reinforcement boxes, which are always limited, and then they disappear again. But now the original Cathay box has disappeared as well. Maybe it's because they'll look forward to the future of that, would have some peasants maybe as well as some Jade warriors. It'll be a different makeup. So I imagine that they would have been looking at what's our starter retail offering? Could they be better? And the answer is probably yes. They could all do with a character in there. At the time when they first did it, not every faction would have had a plastic character that could have put in it, and there might have been metal ones or something. But now, circling back around, now we've had full releases, it would feel like that they could do a refresh on that. And they'll be a bit like the old army starter boxes of the old days. As much as there be parallels drawn with Spearhead, with Combat Patrol for 40k, they are bigger boxes. There are more miniatures needed in them. We're not going to be picking up boxes with 20 or 30 miniatures in, which is what you're getting with AOS and 40k. So they are bigger in their nature. So I think they'll probably still call them battalion boxes or army starters. But I wonder if the makeup of them would mean that you could build 500 to 750 points worth of army with a character in there, which they could potentially say in the small print, perfect for BattleMarch. And I hope that whenever we get a second edition, or whether we get a reprint of this edition as a 1.5 reprint, I've talked about this and other things before, that this would go in it.
Yeah.
rather than be in an arcane journal. It's great that they put it out in an arcane journal, but it to be as part of the core, a bit like Skirmish was in sixth edition.
Yeah.
It would be really cool to see it in that. And I'm sure that that's something they'd look to do in the future. Would it be really cool if it was included, printed with your assembly guide in um your battalion boxes? That
Yeah.
would be such a great way. Little sticker on it includes rule, include the problem is it's not the rules to play the game, it's just like the extra restrictions. But
Mm.
it would mean that you don't have to encourage everyone to go and buy a battalion box and buy this arcane journal called the War of Cetra's Fury, um,
It's like,
which
what's
is
that got to do with
what's got to
anything?
do with my dwarves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you want people to buy those books, but then also it'd be a nice thing to reprint it. I don't think they'll do that at all. And there are ways to the rules are up on the reference thing, aren't they, on the
Mm.
Warhammer.com. So there are ways of getting those rules without paying for them as well. But yeah, I would love to see that. So I think we'll just see new battalion boxes because it's a natural evolution of the game. The fact that they probably point up somewhere between 750 and 500 around that sort of level, I think will just mean that they're kind of semi BattleMarch relevant anyway.
Yeah.
We will see. We will see. I hope so. Anyway, I hope that's the way they go with them. I think that would be a really fun thing to do. Knowing you can go out and start a new army, buy one of those, and actually be able to play games with it, which you couldn't do with a lot of the existing ones because
No.
they don't have a character.
No. And you'd have to have a strong rationale behind it. Is some of the battalion boxes when they came out, you looked at them and you really did think that is stunning value for money for what you were getting. And other ones you looked at, like the Empire one,
Yeah,
you got some models, but a steam tanking your starting army.
it was a little bit
Um,
weird, wasn't it?
it felt odd, and I don't know whether or not that was just because they had X amount of stock availability at that time as to what could go into it, or whether or not that was, or we'll put a steam tank in because it's nice and shiny. But it didn't feel right, considering there's only meant to be 13 of these things.
Yeah,
Um, but
I think it
obviously
was.
we're in a different universe now where
Yeah,
there could be
there's
hordes
more
of
of them,
them.
isn't
So
there?
yeah, so
I think it's
but
because they wanted a
it didn't feel right.
chariot size base in there, really. And it
Yeah, but
wouldn't
you could have
surprise
put
me
the
if
war
this.
wagon in, you know?
Well, it's not in plastic, is it?
No, that's I suppose that's the thing. The war wagon
So,
and the war ultra are both not plastic kits, are they?
and I
So
think if they bring the war wagon out as plastic, it will be too expensive to put in one of those boxes as
yeah,
well.
and also they had it
Um,
lined up for made to order, didn't they? So
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think that points wise, the steam tank would be a problem for Battle March. That's why I think there's a chance they won't be fully Battle March ready and all of the
no,
factions. I think that becomes um, too hard in some
mm,
ways. I think they'll market the game around what looks like an exciting box to buy,
yeah,
and just putting state troops in and some, you know, some of the archers or something like that because they fit with Battle March. I don't know. I don't
maybe
know
they
if
could
that's good.
maybe they could put demigryphs in
And
instead of
demiglyphs
the
might
steam
work.
tank.
That would work. Something you need something kind of
Something
cool, don't
punchy
you?
that grabs the eye. That
Yeah, I
what's
think
cooler
just
than
state troops
demigryphs?
and a few knights probably wouldn't cut it. So there
No,
are options for sure. I think they want to catch people with new miniatures, but maybe that's the other thing is that these are disappearing. Maybe they'll only come back with some new miniatures in. But saying that leaked Tomb King one didn't have anything new, did it? Apart from the
no,
plastic
just as
Tomb
a
King.
character, wasn't it?
So
Yeah,
you'd
interesting.
have to. There's loads of rumors, isn't there, about the new plastic Chaos Warriors. So you
Mm,
would guess that if you were going to bring out a Chaos box, that it would have maybe 10 Chaos Warriors, and it would have um, 30 marauders or 20 marauders and five of the new marauder horsemen and a champion or something, and that would be your
Mm,
battalion box or something like that. You got a bit of a mix that does all the flavors. Would be really cool. Be a really good set. I think they'll have one for each faction. I don't think they would do them as a flavor, as in
no.
all marauders or all warriors like they used to be. I might be wrong, but I think one for each faction that's focused around a grand army, not focused around any armies of infamy,
Yeah.
would seem to make more sense. Unless they've got, loads of SKUs and loads of plans to have all these different things, and they can actually build them around the armies of infamy. That'd be really cool, but I don't think that's needed for a starter product, so to speak. It
No.
feels like a slight overcomplication of it. So if you were going to start a new army, and then there was a dream set, a new battalion box, what would you go for?
And I can have anything in this battalion box, right?
Yeah, you can make it up. You can have a
Including
new,
stuff that
you,
isn't yet available.
yeah, you can make up some new sculpts to go in there.
Hypothetically, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
hypothetically.
So I would pick Nurgle,
Mm.
and I would very much like that to have some bases of Nurglings
Uh-huh.
and some Nurgle Chaos Warriors and a Nurgle chariot, and then a Nurgle Ribley on a Chaos Steed or something like that. And I think that'd
Nice.
be really nice. You could probably maybe swap the Nurglings for some Plague Bearers or something, but
Yeah.
and maybe I would like somehow to maybe have the character on the chariot maybe, and then squeeze a unit of Tempestigors in there as well, and go with the entire unified chaos look again that I'm, as people who have seen the show before will know that I'm absolutely obsessed with. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think that'd be I Nurgle. I've got a real soft spot for Nurgle. I just love the entire ethos behind him and everything. So, and I always have. I've just never, when I was young, I never had the money to be able to collect the miniatures, and now I'm older. I still haven't got the money to collect the miniatures, but I'm gonna make allowances and say that I can have them. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. You
Well,
make
what about
adult
you? What would you
decisions.
pick?
Um, so I would go for Empire, but this Empire set would have the same state troops. I think they're fine, but would have new knights.
Mm,
They would have updated those sculpts. There might only be 10 in the set, but they would have new knights in there. And maybe a new mounted knight plastic character in there.
mm,
Something replacing the general and the standard, that general that looks like he's just got off his horse and is still standing like he's just got off his
mm.
horse. It's a
It
little
needs
bit
to
old
stretch
now.
out a bit.
So a new two leader pack would be quite cool. One sort of foot general that could go in with your state troops and use as maybe it could be built with the BSB or just as a champion, but then it's someone that's a bit more of a Rights Guard knight look feel to it. They haven't
Yeah,
they
that'd be
haven't really
nice.
they haven't really covered Reichland yet in the lore. And I think that
No,
would be perfect to come along with a new set of plastic knights to update the very very diddy the old ones because they do look a bit small. And
do
like you
they?
said, yeah, the knights. You'd be surprised how age
The
has
mounted
they look.
ones.
Yeah, they're a bit small. They're a bit
No,
small.
I never really have the mounted ones. I've got a huge unit of the old sort of like third and fourth edition book
Nice.
Rights Guard, which are one of
Yeah.
my favourite ever
Yeah,
miniatures.
they are really nice. No,
Um,
your mounted plastic knights are they don't scale very well. They look quite small against other
mm,
mounted troops. They will look like boys on toy horses next to the new Marauders for sure. So yeah, an updated Empire Knight sculpt, which has got to be needed at some point, would be really cool and a nice
mm,
give you a nice balanced Empire box, I think, with some state troops and some cavalry. And like you said, maybe it would be a couple of demigriffs in there.
yeah,
Who knows? But something like just a couple of cannons in there does the job really, and the
no,
characters.
not cannons.
Tells the Empire story. To be honest with you, but some new knights would be cool. But we will see. We will see what comes out
Mm.
in the future. I imagine it's going to be more of the old
Maybe
stuff with.
maybe that general who's got off his horse needs to go and see our friend, the yoga instructor.
Yes,
Uh,
maybe it does.
Shout out to him.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Oh dear. Right. Anyway, with that in mind, have you got any shout outs before we let everyone go?
UK resin print.
Hmm.
Speaking of miniatures, Tom has just acquired a license for Avatars of War.
Saw that.
He's got a
Amazing.
sale on at the moment, 20% off sale. The miniatures are lovely. If you're looking to get some really nice miniatures at a bargain price, now's your time. So yeah, UK
Yeah.
resin print. Go and see him. Um, Rick at Pointy Paints is doing a really good um, Wrath of the Northman campaign that he's just started with using the renowned Forge software that David, my media co-manager at Team England, has made, who's the creator behind it, and it looks fantastic. And then obviously Richie and the usual suspects, all of Team England for being really nice people, and everybody I've spoken to in the last couple of weeks online who've all been really genuinely quite pleasant to deal with. It's been the community for Warhammer at the moment, with the odd exception, is absolutely superb.
Yeah.
And anybody who chances across these videos who is worried about going to tournaments or just generally getting into the hobby in general, this is the best the community has ever been for Warhammer by a long, long way. So this is a really good time to get into the hobby. There are a
Agreed.
lot of very approachable people. There are a lot of wonderful YouTube channels. Um, shout out obviously as well to Max at Barefoot and Berna as well at Barefoot Workshop, making amazing scenery. But yeah, now's
Not
your
Burno
time.
hot stuff then.
Not Berno hot stuff, no.
I
As
think
I
you just accidentally outed his only fans, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened there, but we had a laugh about it. Let's put it that way. but yeah, get involved, people. Just talk to people. It's a great time to be hobbying at the moment, and BattleMarch gives you a real easy way to get into the hobby. And even
Yeah.
if you're worried about, oh, oh, have I got the time? Whatever. It's 500 points. If I can paint 500 points, anybody can paint 500 points. I'm the slowest painter in the entire world,
Yeah.
but it's very, very therapeutic. And the joy you get when you finish those 500 points is absolutely phenomenal, because you're like, I've got a painted army. It might only be a battle march army, but I've still got a painted army.
If you're watching this video and because you're interested in Battle March and think of as your way into the game, it really is the one of the best ways you can get into the game. And if you don't like it, you've not committed. But like I said earlier, if you want to try something that's slightly different as well, an army that you have not normally tried, maybe you really love some of the legacy armies, but you don't want to fully commit with them in that format. Again, it's a great way of doing it. Grab some lizards; they're super quick to paint as well. There's just so many options for you. But anyway, with the risk of rambling too much at the end, thank you to all of you for your support. Check out all the links in the video description below if you want to support me on my channel. There's loads of old world content on there. Go check out the patron, multiple tiers on there. Check out the channel sponsor as well. Counterattack bases, loads of gaming aids, which is really cool, and custom dice, should you want to get them for your club or something like that. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and we'll catch you
Thanks,
soon.
everyone.